And there's no real impact here, right? Yeah. That's the point, because they want it shut down.
They all want it shut down.
Otherwise, they would conference the thing, which is what they always do. They each have the bill, they go together, they conference it.
They're both rolling. They're both rolling the dice.
And no conference, that's exactly what they're doing. They're both doing it.
Okay, we all set?
Yeah, when you are.
Ready to go? Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the October 1st, 2013 meeting of the Town of Wareham Board of Selectmen and Sewer Commissioners. May we have the roll call, please?
Present is Selectman Whiteside, Selectman Tropiano, Selectman Holmes, Selectman Slavin, Selectman Titlebaum, Town Administrator Derek Sullivan, Town Council Rich Bowen.
Okay, next item, please.
Announcements. Mrs. Whiteside?
Yes, I have a few. Thank you. First of all, I just want to repeat last week's advertisement for the West Wareham Academy Community Cookbook. As I said, there's a great recipe for JAG in here. You can get a copy of this cookbook either at West Wareham Academy or at the school superintendent's office. $10, best $10 you'd ever spend. Okay. Second announcement, I had told you a couple of weeks ago that there would be a play, Murder Mystery, in the library. The date has been changed to be November 22nd, which is a Friday night. Get a hot date and come see somebody get murdered. Hopefully not me. The third announcement is that 44 Wareham High School students earned Adams scholarships. That was the last sophomore class that I taught. It's an extraordinarily, outrageously good example of how well they did on the MCAS. They either had to score advanced or proficient on the English and the math MCAS taken in grade 10. And then those scores had to be in the top 25% of their class. It can be a scholarship of up to $10,000 over 8 semesters. And for those kids who have trouble, don't have rich parents, most of us don't, it's a very good way of helping them pay the tuition at all of the state schools. And then finally, on a very serious note, I know that our dog bylaws were recently accepted, and I've read them extensively, and I don't see any place where it talks about pooper scoopers. This issue came to my attention yesterday outside of the post office as I was making my morning trip to the post office. And there, right beside the entrance to the post office, was a large pile of poop, as in dog poop. These are available at Petco and other places. They are biodegradable bags. Dog feces contains E. coli and a whole bunch of other disgusting things. So I really would urge the dog owners in this town, you can use this plastic bag too. This one is not biodegradable. Go to a pet store, and if you're going to be walking your dog on public property, that means the sidewalks in downtown, in Onset, Minot Ave, any place. Pick it up, put it in the bag, and chuck it. Thank you. done.
Mr. Tropiano.
Always words of wisdom from Mrs. Whiteside.
I'm sorry?
I said always words of wisdom from you. We always get some. No, I actually, I don't need any of those actually, but if I did, I'd use them. I know that. All right, so I don't have an announcement other than a personal announcement. I want to talk a little bit about some of my attendance, which has been poor, to say the least. I've had some issues in my family and some things going on that have caused me to not be here as often as I like to be. I had taken a job recently that has put me into a position where I couldn't get here like I like to. That job's over. I want to apologize to the people of this town for not putting in all the effort that I should have been putting in here. I think all of the issues now have seemed to have resided, and thank goodness things have straightened out. And I want you to know that I will be re-engaged and not missing any more meetings and much more involved in this job that is really so important, especially now with all of the things that we have to deal with that we haven't had to deal with in the past. And I just want to apologize to the people for what has been going on. It's been a difficult time for me. It's been very hard, actually. It's nothing I need to get into that you need to know about, but I just want to apologize and let you know that I will be re-engaged here. And also my board members who have had to pick up all the slack from me not being here and not engaged. I also want to apologize to you guys as well and let you know that I will be re-engaged. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Mr. Holmes.
Thank you for calling, Ma. It's probably Heather. But anyway, getting back to my trip, it's kind of embarrassing, and I drive by there at least 4 times a day, and I want to acknowledge Justin down at Stonebridge Bistro, who has put up all those beautiful side. Have you noticed the side awnings and things, and the sails over the deck? And so I'm out driving around finding all these new beautification spots, right? And I drive by this one every day. And yesterday on my way home, it just kind of was stunning. And I looked and said, "Oh, he's done a bunch of work there." So I want to give a little shout out there to Justin. And last week, we had both a very sad day and kind of a happy day in Onset. Probably more sad than happy, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but after many years, Shell Point Realty has changed names and is now being operated as Conway on the Bay. I believe Miss Ricky, who everybody knows, is working there. Lauren is still there. But, you know, a real shout out to a sweetheart, Sandy Bessie, who has withstood many years of ups and downs in real estate. And she always keep that building in Onset and always keep the building open and the business open. And always welcoming when you went in the front door, whether it was to buy a house or just to say hi. So I want to give Mrs. Bessie a huge shout out and her family for their many years of dedicated service. And I also want to wish Conway on the Bay the best of luck. We have the best real estate in the country right there. And of course, they've always focused on Onset, and I hope that focus and townish kind of relationship with people continues, and I'm sure it will. And so we wish them the best of luck as well. I got a haircut again. I don't switch haircut or barbers, by the way. I have a thing about that. So I was down in Hollywood, gone to Hollywood, got a haircut. It's just another busy week. And I got to tell you, again, it's really noticeable. People, we had a beautiful weekend. You see them out there cleaning up their yards and making the town look better, from Onset all the way to Rochester. And I also visited the dump again. And thank you, Mrs. Whiteside. And so that's it. But I really want to thank people for doing that. And let's keep it going. So, thank you.
Good?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. First announcement, Wareham's Coffee Hour. Chance to have coffee break and chat with interesting guests. This week's guest is Eleanor Martin, Director, Onset Bay Association. It'll be 9 a.m., October 3rd, room 225, Wareham Multi-Service Center. The VFW, I think we'll be voting on it today as well, is going to have a pig roast at 12 p.m. on Sunday. There will be games and fun for kids. Pocket Full of Soul will be playing, and I believe it'll start at 12 p.m. It's $20 a person. First annual Wareham Onset Scarecrow Festival, Friday, October 11th, along Main Street, Wareham and Onset Ave. Proudly presented by the Onset Bay Association. There's an entry form for individuals, families, business groups, etc. How do we enter? You basically return a form that you get from the OBA by October 6th, and you mail it to them. Another golf tournament sponsored by Box 5 Association and the Onset Bay Association, October 12th. Registration, 11:30 a.m. Shotgun format begins at 1 p.m. Bay Point Club, 19 Bay Point Drive, Onset. $100 per player, or $400 per foursome. Whole sponsor and dinner is involved. Par sponsors, $125. To sign up, attend, sponsor, or general information, contact Carolyn Oswald, telephone 508-510-2320, or Eleanor Martin, 508-295-7072. This information will also be available in the Selectmen's office. And last, we have email that came in from Kenny Fonts, came in on the 25th of September. I'll read it off exactly as we got it. Good morning. On behalf of the staff, parents, and children of the Boys and Girls Club, we want to thank you for your support. In the end, it's all about the kids, and you showed last night with that last night with your approval. We are jumping around with joy, and now we have a home that we can only build on to be a better place for the community. We are already in the process of getting the building cleaned up and some landscaping to make the kids in the neighborhood proud. I understand Mr. Holmes' concerns, and I must say that I'm in full agreement on this. Salpina and I have had some conversations, and we are all on the same page. I know Mr. Holmes cares about the kids, and he has expressed that to me. Taking off my Boys and Girls Club hat, Mr. Fonts is also on the school committee, just in case you don't know that. And switching to my school committee hat, I think it's time to have a discussion of turning the building over to the town, and Cedar as the custodians makes sense to me. Of course, that's a decision of the selectmen. I'm going to forward this, going to be a topic of discussion, and I just want to let it be known that I do support the area. Again, thank you for believing in us, and if I can be of any help going forward, I'll be happy to assist. Kenny Fonts, Unit Director, Boys and Girls Club, Wareham. This went to all the selectmen and to Kimberly Shaver Hood. I'm done.
Okay, I just have a couple brief ones. If you'll recall, last fall at town meeting, the body voted to petition the legislature to do away with the acts of 1994 that placed dog hearing authority in the chief of police and instead return it back to the Board of Selectmen. That bill was signed into law recently by Governor Patrick. A couple of observations. First, I think this gives you an idea of how long it takes to get even the most simple piece of home rule legislation through that body. And this is no fault, by the way, of either Senator Pacheco or Representative Williams-Gifford. They both were very dogged in their attempts to get this done. But this is the time frame it takes to get legislation through, so it's a little bit instructive. When we need something from the legislature, plan on it taking a year. Pardon? Oh, I said Representative Williams Gifford. I'll use both their surnames.
Just in case.
In case I get,
In case you have a
in
need.
case I'm full of it, huh? Okay. The other thing I'd like to remind everybody is that fall town meeting is coming up faster than you'd think. 4 weeks from tonight, in fact. Actually, 4 weeks from Monday. So that's going to be October 28th at 7 o'clock in the high school auditorium. So keep the dates open. 28th, be nice if we get the business done in one night, but if not, then we've got the 29th reserved as well. So please come out and perform your duties as citizen legislators once again. Thank you. Next item, please.
Citizen participation.
Good evening.
See, I didn't forget either. Evening, Mrs. Heath.
Good evening. I made a phone call this afternoon. I spoke to Mary at Senator Pacheco's office. Notice I said senator, even though Mr. Obama, who's the president of the United States, is referred to as Mr. I'm making sure I'm saying senator tonight. And I found it very interesting. We had a little talk about the sewer commissioner's bill. It turns out that you can trace and follow what's going on if you go to the website, which she gave me the information for. And I have the website address here, if anybody's interested. And it's very convenient. What I found out is the bill is now with the, I have to read this. It's set for a hearing. It needs a hearing by the Joint Committee on Municipalities and Regional Government, which is very interesting because they have no hearings scheduled for October. Okay? So, what I did is, the bill number, by the way, is where is it in here? S1856. And when you go to the website address, it's there, and right near the end of it is Senator Pacheco's name. And if you click on his name, it brings you right to a whole bio of him, and it also gives you his email address. So what I did is I sent him a little note. I said, Senator Pacheco, as sponsor for this bill at town meeting in Wareham, I'm concerned that there are no hearings scheduled in October for the Joint Committee on Municipalities and Regional Government. I would very much like to see this bill progressing through the process so the town of Wareham citizens could vote for the commissioners during the April 2014 election as required by this legislation. As I'm sure you are aware, this is the second time around for the citizens of Wareham regarding the selection of sewer commissioners. This particular bill was necessitated by the declaration of the 2010 bill being stale. Any help you could give in this matter would be greatly appreciated by the members of Wareham's legislative town meeting and the residents, property owners, and commercial enterprises of the town. And I sign my name. Now, as Peter just told us, the doggy bill took 10 months. But something I discovered a long time ago, if you make noise, people listen. So, I suggest that anybody who's the least bit concerned about this being on the legislation for April, send our senator a polite note. And they might also go online and find out who is on the Joint Committee on Municipalities and Regional Government to find out why there are no hearings scheduled and when we're going to be heard on this bill. Because if there are no hearings, this bill isn't going anywhere. So I'll be more than willing to give you that web address, and I'd like to see it posted someplace so that people can go there. And I really think that if the people who vote on this in town meeting want this bill passed, then they better start sending out messages. And it would be nice if a message came from every single one of our selectmen as well.
May I just want to let you know that I did call the office and left a message for Mary to call me back. This was not this past week where I was out of town, but before. She wasn't in the office on that day, and she has called me back, but I was out of town. So I will continue to work on that. And would you mind forwarding me that link?
I don't mind at all. What I did is,
Yeah.
we had a very nice talk today, and what I said to her is, is there some way I can do this without calling you every week
Yeah.
so I could follow it?
And she said the link, right?
And she
Yeah.
gave me the information on the website. But I don't think it would hurt, even though you follow it on the website. That's very, what's the word I want? There's no proactivity about that for anybody but you. So if people become proactive in this, then they're going to realize that we want this done.
Thank you very much for your concern, Ms. Heath.
Thank you. Anyone else tonight for citizens' participation? Okay, seeing no one, next item, please.
Be right there. Next is consent agenda. I have no bills or documents. I have no appointment interviews. Next item up will be accepting minutes of 9:10.
I move that the minutes of September 10th, 2013 be approved as written.
Anything else on the question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained?
Mr. Holmes, are you abstaining on that one?
401.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are approved.
Just pass it down.
Let's see.
Just pass it down. Oh, never mind. Space City. I'm tired tonight. Sorry, guys. Maybe. Next, I have the minutes for September 17th. Need a motion to approve.
Move that the minutes of September 17th, regular selectmen's meeting, be approved as presented.
I believe we were all here for that one.
Yes.
Motion made by Selectman Whiteside, seconded by Selectman Tropiano. Anything else on the question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 500.
I need a motion to approve the executive session minutes of June 10th and hold.
I move that the executive session meeting minutes of September 10th be approved and held.
Motion made by Selectman Whiteside, seconded by Selectman Tropiano. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? 401. Selectman Holmes abstains.
That takes care of that. Next item up is license and permits. First one we have is Bethany Chandler, Wareham Middle School. Annual Readers Become Leaders, 5K race. Anybody here? Nope. I'll make a motion to give permission to the Wareham Middle School, 4 Viking Drive, Wareham, Mass., for the use of town roads for the annual Readers Become Leaders 5K race and walk from the Minor Forest School to Great Neck Road to R.D. Stillman Drive and back to Minor Forest School on Sunday, October 20th, from 12 noon to 1 p.m.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. Anything on the question? And just as a note for the audience, they have completed the indemnification form and have the approval of the police and fire department as well attached, and EMS. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500.
You really tell me that they want to do that in 1 hour? From 12 to 1 p.m.?
What's on the form, Jerry?
Yeah, that's, we can't tell them to take longer or ask for longer.
If I may, I think the answer to that, and it's a good point, is that they don't all do the entire route. That there are, cars picking kids up at certain checkpoints.
But even if they don't do all the route, that's still fast. It's 1 hour.
Don't blink, you'll miss them.
Well, it's only 5K.
It's not, yeah, but they're little kids.
Okay, next item, please.
That's 3 miles.
Next item up is request for use of town roads by the Wareham Veterans Council, care of William R.C. White. Sharon Boyer is involved as well. Mr. White?
Good evening
Mr.
once
Boyer?
again.
Good evening, folks. I'm Bob White, and I'd like to introduce Sharon Boyer. We've coordinated the Veterans Day activities for the town of Wareham for the last 2 years, and we propose to do that again this year on behalf of the Wareham Veterans Council and the town, of course. This year we plan basically the same kind of a schedule and format that we had last year, in that we have a parade starting at 10:30, followed by a ceremony between the multi-service center and the town hall. And at 12 o'clock, we hope to serve a light potluck luncheon to veterans. In addition, this year we've got not a demonstration, but a collection of personal World War II memorabilia provided by the town council, Richard Bowen, which will be on display in the town hall, in the auditorium, in the vicinity of the memorial boards. So we expect to have town hall open, the multi-service center open, and any other facilities that are necessary to support the parade and or the ceremony and the luncheon. Was there anything you'd like to say, Sharon? Go ahead.
Well, actually, there's only the addition to the military display, and what's the other thing we're going to do with them? And the vehicles that we had in the parking lot between the multi-service center and the town hall. The vehicles, the military vehicles that come in, they're going to be the same program as last year. It's a Touch a Truck program where the kids can actually get into the vehicles, take pictures from the military vehicles so they can understand a little bit more. So it's more family oriented.
One other comment, and that is that we anticipate the 379th Engineer Company from Buzzards Bay will again participate and have available to us, as Sharon has indicated, a number of large vehicles. That's the good news. The sad news is that members of that unit will be reassigned to Afghanistan for the second time starting in April. That's enough to make me cry.
Well, maybe if the government's still shut down, they won't.
Nobody around the boat.
We'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have, or
Bob, on the form it says event ends at 3:30. The parade itself will end about what time?
probably around 11.
No, the parade will end anywhere from 11:15 to 11:30. Then the ceremony out here is approximately a half hour, so that would be from 11:30 to noon. Then at noon is when we would have the veterans go to the multi-service center for lunch, and the other guests that would be here for the event could go to the town hall to view the plaques in addition to seeing the military display. We feel that approximately 2:15 is when the luncheon would be finished, and by the time we clean up would be somewhere around 3:30.
So if we put down as for the time frame 10:30 to 1 o'clock, as far as the roads, that will cover you?
Oh, yes, as far as the roads, yes.
Yeah.
But the facilities, the buildings we're also using till that time.
I went through all these checkoffs. I noticed that municipal maintenance, the form is there, but it's not signed. Have you made any arrangements with them?
Last week at Wareham's Coffee Hour, we had a chance to talk to Frank Bergamasco, representing the municipal maintenance. Frank took down all the information that we had to give him at that time, so I have no reason to suspect that they would not sign off on it. He didn't object or raise any issues that we couldn't talk about or solve.
Mr. Sullivan, could you follow up on that?
I had received the direction from the board to make it work, so we're going to make it work.
Okay, thank you.
One thing I want to mention is, I don't remember whether I put EMS support on that or not.
Yes.
If it is on there, fine. If it isn't, we need definitely to have that.
It's there.
It's there.
No, it says ambulance required, no. It says personnel needed,
Says
no.
yes.
Ambulance required, no. Approving event, yes. So,
Approval is yes.
We definitely, absolutely, and if I didn't have it there, it was an oversight.
You have no on the form. On the form itself, Bob, ambulance required, you have circled no, and then Dave Evans has approved as a yes. But the form says no for EMS personnel and ambulance, so you need to go back on that.
Okay, we want somebody on site dedicated to taking care of any issues.
well, we can ask Mr. Sullivan to get this squared away with EMS so that there is the appropriate
Thank you.
medical response available if needed. Hopefully not, but better safe than sorry.
Last year it was essential.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
I have a
Selectman
couple-
Whiteside?
Yes. Who is going to be in this parade? Not names, but bodies. I don't mean bodies.
We'll have
but
several
body-
divisions to the parade. One will be military, one will be community, and one will be youth.
Have you talked with the high school JROTC program? And
Yes,
Sergeant Hutchinson is going, yeah.
the high school band, the superintendent of schools.
And the JROTC.
Oh, yes, yes.
All right.
And we expect them to be there with bells on, based on our observations and conversations. I
think-
want to reiterate that this is not a one community activity. We call it Wareham's Veterans Day activities, but in fact, the overall goal is to make it a 3-town event. And moving in that direction, the Bourne High School Band is expected to be there. The response you get from the people in Bourne is pretty amazing, pretty quick. So we've got the Bourne High School Band, the 379th coming out of Buzzards Bay. We expect to have color guard out of the VFW and American Legion in Bourne. And eventually, the invitation will go out to any other organizations or groups in the community that would like to participate. This is a community opportunity to say thank you to the veterans for their service. So if you're in this community and you want to say thank you, now is an opportunity to do that.
Just further in that regard, Bob, I do have letters here for me to sign inviting the chairman of the Bourne Board of Selectmen, the chairman of the Marion Board of Selectmen, Representative Williams-Gifford, Representative Keating, Senator Pacheco, our 2 senators in Congress, and also all of you. So
Yes, we all have a special place for you on that day. And some of you have been there in the past, and we're hoping that you'd be able to participate again in serving the luncheon. We're hoping that we can get that support from you as a
Not a
selectman.
problem. I would also suggest maybe you contact Admiral Gurnett over at the Maritime Academy.
Oh, yes.
Might be nice to have him there. They're doing a lot of things for the canal celebration next year, and he's working with Wareham as well.
Mhm.
So it'd be a nice gesture, I think.
Thank you for that celebration, or that suggestion.
Any other comments?
yeah, you all set?
I'll make a motion to permit Wareham Veterans Council, care of William R.C. White, 11 Region Ave, Wareham, for use of the town roads for the annual Veterans Day Parade. The parade starts at Bessie Park down Main Street and left up Chapel Hill to Marion Road to Viking Drive, and at the end at the Town Hall on the Monday, November 11th, 2013, starting at 10:30 a.m., and the parade itself should end by 1 o'clock.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Holmes. Anything else on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, 500. Thank you, Bob, and thank you, Sharon, once again for all the hard work you put into planning this event, contacting and getting people to participate in it, and of course the publicity that goes along with advertising it and getting it out there so that people know to attend.
You're
We appreciate
welcome.
it.
And we will make ourselves very visible here at the selectmen's meetings over the next couple of weeks because we want to have the privilege of introducing our new Grand Marshal.
Oh, thank you very much. We look forward to that.
Next, I have 2 all-day requests from the VFW, Dudley Brown Post. Mr. Rose, good to see you again.
Good evening, board members.
First one we have is a fundraiser, which is the pig roast, which we've already discussed earlier tonight on the announcements, and it says for October 6th. So go ahead with that one.
Yes, that's the OBA is running that. It's to sponsor the Summer of Love program, which is the music that they give in arts at band shell during the summer months. That's the pig roast. Should I go on to the next?
No, we'll just
No.
do one at a time first.
Okay.
Any questions from anybody?
No.
No, but could I just, these come to us a lot lately because of that whole, not being able to have the license carry over to a non-attached piece of the property, a building, which to me is kind of crazy if you ask me. They ought to have some provisions to allow this kind of thing in the law, but they don't, so we have to do this. But it seems like that you have to come here all the time and, unless there's something unusual, is there any reason why this gentleman's got to keep coming here?
No reason whatsoever, unless for some reason some form
If
doesn't
there's
get
something
placed.
unusual in it, that he needs to explain, then I could see that. But other than that, I think you could just send these in and we could just deal with these for you. You know what I mean? Because, if it was up to me, I'd just give it to you as a blanket thing, and you could just use that pavilion like you have for years. But apparently we can't. So.
What happens usually is that either on a Friday or Monday, I'll proof all the different folders. And if there's an issue, we'll get a hold of them so they're
Other
done.
than that, unless you want to come, it's okay. I don't want to keep you away, but it just seems like something
No, if I didn't have to.
you don't really need to do,
Okay.
Unless you want to come and talk up the events, of course, which you're free to do.
If I found something that warranted a lot of explanation, then I would come and direct it towards that, if that's okay with you.
Attorney Bowen, good evening.
Good evening. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the law on this allows, I want to say it's up to 30
right
per year. It could be
Yes.
one event that goes 30 days. It could be 30 different one-day events.
Right.
The question of whether you need to have the applicant come before you is a policy question for you. The big thing that you want to figure out, though, with respect to, and I'm saying this in a general sense, with anybody who's applying for a so-called one-day license, is if they already have a liquor license and they're coming in for a special license like this, you just have to make sure that the activity that is being licensed under the special license take place in an area other than that which is covered by the regular license, which I believe is the case here.
Yeah,
Yes.
the
And then that's
pavilion
why you keep
is-
coming in, because
Yes.
your current license doesn't cover it.
You have a second bar set up outside and everything for this,
Yes,
correct,
sir.
sir?
Yes, sir, we do.
There's nobody mixing, drinking at different
No.
bars? The bar is set up outside?
It has its own bar outside, within the pavilion, yes.
With your permission, Mr. Chairman, the only other point, and this is more of just a business point for the veterans to consider, is the ABCC is very strict that when you get a second license of this type, that the liquor that's purchased for the second license not be purchased under your first license. So you need like a separate, I'm trying to think of the right phrase, almost like a separate purchase chain, because they will, you know, well, I'll speak for myself. You know, when I was on a licensing authority, it's like, look, you got your license, do a good job, make sure everybody's safe. But they're very particular about that kind of issue, and you just want to have a heads up on that.
Because the license is only granted to that bar inside and all those supplies that support that bar for that square footage in that building.
Exactly.
You have a special license here, has nothing to do with the building, only deals with the pavilion. So everything that's used at that function, liquor, soda, ice, you can create a purchase order from the function to the club to buy the ice out of that machine and sell it to the function, but you can't use it outside because the license, and ice is maybe a bad example, you can't go inside and take a canister of beer, a keg of beer, and serve it in the pavilion.
Unless you
That has
sell
to
it.
be purchased. Well, I don't think he has a retail license to sell kegs of beer.
No.
There might be an issue there.
That would
And
be,
you want to
the
keep it
kegs would
separate
be, yeah.
because you don't want to have any problems here. You want to keep it separate. So whatever you're doing outside is a separate business than that license inside.
separate paper trail.
So maybe the easiest thing to do is when you supply for these, when you purchase from wherever you purchase, to write down specifically for what events you are purchasing, and then you keep that as a separate record. So you actually have, you could have, you know, part of your bank account segregated to, do you have just one account?
Yes.
And then, so then you would just segregate it. Do you use paper accounting, or do you use online accounting?
No, paper.
Okay, so then it would be pretty easy to document that separate purchase that way.
You just say, we
I'd be
can't
happy
give
to
you
help
business
you.
advice, but what you don't want to happen is to sell beer in that pavilion
Right.
that you purchase for your club. That's a no-no. That's the bottom line. The rest is
Okay.
up to you. We don't give business advice here because that would only cause problems. The second question I have, Mr. Chairman, through you to Mr. Bowen is, would you also explain why this board is approving one-day licenses for the VFW club, and we cannot do that for other businesses who hold the license?
Well, with your permission, Mr. Chairman.
Certain types of other licenses, we cannot issue one-day licenses.
Yes, number one, there's a lot of latitude given to fraternal organizations that isn't available to other types of entities. Number two, certainly if you were a retail, you know, package store business, that, you know, that just couldn't happen. And then the final part is that because you're not for profit, you know, you're for the veterans, the way the law is written, and I guess this kind of picks up on the first point I made, it gives more latitude to the board to permit a full range of alcohol sales because you're not profit, whereas a for-profit business is limited to beer and wine.
Right. Because we did have some issues last year, particularly at Bay Point, and there were a couple other places where we were issuing one-day licenses when they had a seasonal license. They were in possession of a seasonal license, and we were issuing additional licenses, and then the state came down and said, hey, you can't do that because they already have a license. And then we used the golf course rule, and so, I mean, there are sometimes ways around these things, but in your particular case, I don't want some other business coming in here next week saying, hey, it's January and I want 31-day licenses, because they can't have them if they already have a seasonal license in town. So that's been raised, and I think I sent you that email for you to answer that question. So
Yeah.
I'm glad you did it tonight in public on the record. Thank you. It's good for you to know
Thank you,
this
Selectman
because
Holmes.
you don't want to get yourself into trouble.
I understand.
Make a motion to issue a special one-day license under provisions of Chapter 138, Section 14, to Dudley L. Brown, Post 2846, VFW, in care of Paul Rose, 4 Gibbs Ballpark Road, Onset, Mass., for the effective date of October 6, 2013. Authorized hours of sale are between 12 noon and 8 p.m. The licensed premises will be the Onset VFW Pavilion, outdoor area of the VFW. And the
Second.
license is for an all-alcoholic beverage.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. Okay, first one done.
Could you make the motion on the second one, please?
Do you want to explain what the second one is for first?
Yes, the second one is a car show, which is for the Cape Verdean Festival Association fundraiser.
What kind of car show?
Antique vehicles in this, from what I understand, and work its way up to current vehicles, I guess.
So there's no year cutoff for any kind of customized vehicle?
I think it's any, in all categories that are going to be in this.
I'll see you there. Okay, I'll make a motion to issue a special license under Chapter 138, Section 14, to the Dudley L. Brown Post, 2846 VFW, care of Paul Rose, 4 Gibbs Ballpark Road, Onset, Mass., for October 26th between the hours of 12 noon and 6 p.m. at the Onset VFW Pavilion, outdoor area of the VFW, for all alcoholic beverages.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 500 on that one. Thank you very much, Mr. Rose.
Thank you.
See ya.
Next up, we have our standing funding source contract 2, and as usual, waiting on the DOR review. Town Administrator, Mr. Sullivan, will talk about that during his report. Any other sewer business? I don't believe we have any, unless anybody has something.
I just have a question.
Go ahead.
Yes.
I know that we were waiting to set the rate so that the bills could go out. So that hasn't been done.
No.
Not yet. Remember, we were told that we could set them and adjust them.
Right, but what I'm saying is, if we
The hope, I think,
want
was
to
to
keep
wait.
the cash flow going.
Yeah. The hope was that this audit process, that this process would be done by Tiggy and Bond. I understand that they're going to be coming
In January.
later in the month, or
Right.
possibly a little after that, so it'll be on an agenda soon to set the rate.
There's two separate items. There's what the DOR is going to do, and then there's what Ty and Bond is doing. So Mr. Campino wanted, I think, to wait till we heard what Ty and Bond had to say.
Well, I don't know that he necessarily wanted to wait. I think I wanted to wait. But anyway, it's a fair question. We are coming up to the time where we want to get those bills out. And again, we've had the advice from council, I guess last month, perhaps before that, that we could in fact set the rate as often as necessary, that there was no restriction on how many times we do that. So with that in mind, I think we are in a position where it doesn't make sense to wait any longer for the Tiggy and Bond study to come through and to just go ahead and vote the rate and hope that it's the permanent rate, not just an initial rate.
I think it's only fair to the people who have those bills coming to them.
Yeah.
To not put it off any further. I mean, if people are budgeting specifically for that, and we're coming into the winter season, then you've made it really difficult for people on fixed incomes.
Yep.
Yes, we have, actually.
Very difficult.
Yes.
So fair enough. That'll
Too
appear
close to
very
the
soon.
holiday season. Town business, first item is discussion guidance to town administrator. Mrs. Whiteside?
I wanted to, again, congratulate you. I can't find it in front of me right now, but the up-to-date financial information that you've given us in the packet is very, very helpful to look at. It's also helpful to have us be able to email you and say, how come this is over budget, or how, that kind of thing. It certainly reinforces the fact that you and your department heads are doing a very, very good job of getting the work done in a timely fashion. And I want to say thank you very much for that, and kudos to the people who are churning those numbers.
Mr. Tropiano?
I actually have not much to say about this, but I'd like to talk to you about your designees, though. No, I'm only kidding. No, it's good. You've been doing a great job. Just keep it up, okay?
I'll go, and then we'll go back to Mr. Holmes. On the expense reports and stuff, as far as expenses coming in, the income will come later in the quarter. I'd like to see if it's possible, maybe in the next agenda or two, to go back so we can go over the expenses coming in, so we can track where we're at with any questions.
Okay, fair enough. Let's see. We've got the 8th and 15th. I'm hopeful that we will get through quite a bit of the favorable action votes tonight. However, we're going to need to reserve some time on the 8th in case we don't. The close-off date for that is the 11th, by the way, to get them in the printed handouts that go out at town meeting. So
Next week.
yeah. Will you be able to have reports in hand for us next week?
For though we have some that were in the packets, and so we want to go over.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Then I'll put it on for next week. That'll take care of that.
Mr. Holmes, any guidance to the town administrator? Guidance to the town administrator. Your turn.
You know, I was thinking on the way over here, there was something I had for you today. It wasn't parking, because that's coming along. But there was something else I had for you today. And I just can't think of what it is right now. If it comes up, can I poke back in?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it wasn't the parking, because we got the next series of kiosks coming on the for town meeting. That's already on the docket. But there was something else I wanted to ask you about. Now, if I think of it, I'll poke back in.
Yep.
Thanks.
That's your senior moment today.
Huh?
It's your senior moment today.
You know, and I had detail in my brain on the way over here too. It's gone now.
Next item is social media. Mrs. Whiteside.
We have, you each got the revised policy with the suggestions that Mr. Bowen had provided us last week, highlighted in the blue. And again, I think it's important that we have this policy. We already have 2 departments that have a website, at least 2 that I know of. We're trying to create a Town of Wareham website that links to many things, and I think it's important to adopt the policy before you create the website. So the changes that we talked about last week are the ones that have been implemented in the blue.
Okay, if members had a chance to take a look at this, or you want a minute to go through it quickly? I found mine here awaiting me when I walked in, so.
Mine was here too, so
I just got mine today. I hate to put things off, but I'm very leery about going and looking at something, reading it, and then making a decision on the spot. I apologize, but we just got to.
Well, that's fair enough. We don't have a vote on the agenda anyway, so why don't we carry this through again till next week? Thank you for your work, and also thank you, Attorney Bowen, for getting into this. But if we've got members, I guess, including myself, who probably should have more time before we review this.
Mr.
Selectman
Chairman,
Holmes? Yes.
I would just have a simple question. Is there anything you changed that we didn't ask you to change 2 weeks ago?
No.
Prepared. They only went
Attorney
back
Bowen?
and corrected the areas that we asked them to correct. I guess. But you don't have it on the,
Right, we don't have it down for a
anyway.
vote. It was just
Is
a
that what you're
continued
saying?
discussion, so.
Well,
But
let's
Mr.
not discuss until we're ready to vote, I guess.
Mr. Chairman, I can answer that very quickly, though. We paid very close attention to the board's comments, to people who would be covered, and the thrust of it is somewhat different. It's geared towards regulating the use of official social media contacts, which I think is where the board was going with it.
That's all. Was the only. Because you certainly can't govern people in their private
Not-
social media events.
Not in
But
this country.
on a official town website, we certainly can set the policy for that website for the town of Wareham, and that's what you did.
Yes.
And that's why I'm kind of surprised that. But if it has to wait till next week, it has to wait.
Yeah, it was just put to me as a discussion.
I just am sort of shocked that none of you have asked me how I knew all about things like MySpace, Facebook, Twitter, Gather.com, Yahoo Groups, LinkedIn.
Well, you're old.
We assume Mr. Bowen did that.
You assumed Mr. Bowen did that?
Well, I don't know about any of that stuff.
He said
You are a turkey.
He said it. Give him
Thanksgiving
that
is
shit
coming
bag.
quickly.
Yeah.
Give him the poop bag now. Go ahead. He deserves it.
Yeah, really, he does.
I think we're going to
deserve-
keep this, yes, thank you for the Selectman Whiteside. We're going to keep this and pass this around to the member who's most full of it at the given time.
Thank
So-
I do have different colors. Would you all like different colors?
Now the yellow, I mean, that looks like police caution tape.
It does look like
Yeah.
caution tape.
You know
And just
that?
remember, if you get it awarded 3 times in a row, it's retired in your honor, so
Yeah.
be careful.
No, red
Color?
is biomedical.
That particular color, I mean, can we use? What do we got?
Let's move along.
Purple, ooh.
Okay,
Somewhere tonight there's a
Purple.
baseball game on. Let's go.
You must have a dog that just keeps on going.
I'll make a note here to get this back on the agenda for next week, Selectman
Or a
Whiteside.
vote,
With a
please?
vote.
Discussion and vote.
Thank you. Then to vote, whatever you have to say.
Next item, Mr. Haney is here, the Audit Committee. See, we didn't make you wait.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, Bill.
Hey,
Thank you for having me.
How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I think David was shocked too. Like, oh, what's this?
Huh?
What's all this?
The suit?
Tie. Jesus.
I had to keep up with you.
Well, that's pretty easy.
Jeez, you're looking good, dude. It's pretty spiffy out there.
This is the guy that it's hard to keep up with right here with his Hawaiian shirts and his crazy colored ties.
I don't.
My mom wants to know where you shop, you know.
She wants to shop
Yeah.
Guess what you're getting for
She just wants to know where.
This is what you're getting for Christmas.
Boy, we're
Yeah.
just getting off on a tangent here, aren't we?
I don't do bow ties.
Sartorial splendor aside, what brings you here tonight to talk to us?
I'm here to talk about the audit committee guidelines, which I presume each of you had in your packets. And when I came here tonight, I had a presentation all developed that would take somewhere between a half an hour and 45 minutes. And Mr. Holmes told me to give you the thumbnail version. And I'd be happy to do that, but I can go as long as you want or as short as you want.
Hey, can we just ask some
Pick-
questions up front? Yep.
Go for it.
Sure. Fire away.
Yeah. I mean, we created this audit committee, last year?
A year ago.
Yeah, we based it on the DOR
I wasn't
recommendation.
asking you the question. I was asking him. He's the chairman, isn't he?
I said a year ago.
We created this, a year ago?
Yep.
No? And how do you see it so far? Or is that what the present-
I see it as a work in progress.
Yeah.
And to that end, I think the guidelines are a real good step along the way. The way that the selectmen originally created this committee, it was 3 individuals. Myself as the at-large resident individual with a 3-year term.
Mm-hmm.
There is a member of the Board of Selectmen that's appointed by the chairman annually. This year it's Mr. Slavin. Last year it was Mr. Slavin. Hopefully next year it'll be Mr. Slavin.
Yeah.
And there's also a member of the Finance Committee who's also appointed by the chairman of the Board of, by the chairman of the Finance Committee for a 1-year term. The guidelines are proposed.
Who did you get from the finance committee?
Mr. McDonald.
Right now, we have Larry McDonald, the chairman. And the guidelines are starting to expand that a little bit. What we're asking you to do is to approve 2 additional members. And one of those members would be a person appointed by the school committee, because the school is a large part of the audit. And the other is an ex officio position that currently held by Mr. Sullivan. Congratulations. And, but we think it's important that the chief executive officer of the town is also included as a voting member. Additionally, we'll ask you to approve the audit committee's inviting on a regular basis, without a vote, the town's chief financial officer, who should be a part of this process as well.
You know, we tried to hire one of those last year, and
Pardon me?
we tried to hire one of those last year, and
I thought you did
it
hire
never
one.
happened. No. We ended up hiring an accountant. And we ended up,
Mr.
well, we
Sullivan,
never
I thought-
hired a CFO.
We have a finance director. That's
Yeah, but not a chief financial officer for the town. It's still separated between, we have one in the town and one in the school side.
Right.
We never combined that
Yeah.
position to really have a CFO.
Right, doesn't cover the town and the school. So.
For the purposes of these guidelines, I think we were referring to the finance director, at least at the moment. If and when there's ever a town CFO, true CFO, then absolutely would want that person.
I personally think we need to continue to fight for that and work towards having that, because I think it's important to have somebody who oversees the entire book of numbers and not just my piece and their piece. And this guy kind of looks at their piece, but hey, don't touch, it's mine. And I think that's what leads to a lot of problems when we try to bring things in order. So you're pretty happy with the way it's going. I was trying to get to some.
Yeah, the audit committee is not a committee that's going to.
It's not a fun committee. I understand that.
Well,
But
You don't know Bill then?
yeah, it can be fun. It depends on your sense of humor. But that being said, the audit committee is not a committee that's going to meet on a regular basis. It's going to meet regularly, but it's going to be twice a year, essentially, except at the times that that we would be interviewing auditors in essentially an RFP process. But other than that, the audit committee's role is to review what's called the scope of the audit before the audit begins, and that's essentially with the committee and the auditing firm at the time. Currently, it's Powers and Sullivan, and then at the end of the audit, to receive the results from Powers and Sullivan. I think one of the most important parts, if not the most important function of the audit committee, is to be able to have a conversation with the auditor and ask the following question. And the following question is, has anybody in the town tried in any way to influence your thinking, your results, and so forth? Ideally, the answer to that question is always no. But actually, the question has to be asked. The town has to be assured by the independent auditor that there is no one in the town, in management or any department, that's trying to influence the outcome of the audit, unduly influence the outcome of the audit.
Any questions from the board?
how about you?
The only question
This was kind of your idea.
Yeah, the only question I have is, I think when I passed out originally the DOR guidelines from the DOR, I thought they had said that they recommended not having town finance official or a town town manager or town administrator?
Um,
Since our report goes to the town administrator to provide the action.
Yeah, in these guidelines, our report is going to the Board of Selectmen. And when you think about the town finance person that we're suggesting be put on, that's more in a, first of all, it's a non-voting capacity. And it's more that person be aware of what the audit committee is doing and why it's doing it and so forth, as well as to provide the expertise of the town's finances to the committee at the time that we're talking to the auditor. As far as the chief executive officer is concerned, in industry, the chief executive officer, at least in my experience, is a member of the committee. In the town of Andover, I believe the chief executive officer actually appoints the committee. So there's clear precedent for the chief executive officer by any other name to be involved in the audit committee.
What we have right now, as far as it's listed, for today's agenda, it's just audit committee present revised guidelines. I don't know. We basically would be voting to change the guidelines that we provided. I'm not sure if we can do that today, only because it's not on the agenda that way.
Can we reword it for next week?
Yes.
We don't need Bill here for
No, we've got what we
No.
need, unless anybody has.
We have your proposal here, so I think it's pretty straightforward. Also, for next week, I will reach out to Chairman Vugan of the school committee and see if she can provide the name of a school committee member, and perhaps we can get that person on there as well. This was your part of the suggested guideline change, right?
Yes.
So
you were suggesting a school committee member or the school appoint a member? That's two different things.
I'm suggesting the school committee appoint a member.
Okay, well, in that case, I will couch
Much like the Board of Selectmen appointed a member and the Finance Committee appointed a member.
Oh, so you're asking for a school committee person to serve on this?
We think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'd say it's.
Yeah.
As well as, well, hang on a second, before you jump, let's get to the point of what I'm trying to make first, please. And then you would also ask for the finance officer of the school
No.
to be part of this,
No.
as well as the town finance officer?
No.
You're not?
I mean, they're welcome. It's a public meeting. They're certainly welcome to come. But at least for this,
I'm trying
at
to
least
get
for
to
where
that.
we are
Yeah,
right
I'm trying
now.
to figure out what you're asking for. You
For
don't want to overload it with political appointees. This is an audit
Well,
group, and if you leave out the finance guy from the school department, that, to me, it almost weakens a little bit.
As I said in the beginning, this is a work in progress.
Right.
And yes, there's a lot of representation from various boards or committees on the audit committee today. As this process matures, I think what we're looking for is more resident activity or more residents being appointed to the committee for 3-year terms, and that's really where the committee needs to go. But I think at the moment we're probably too early for that.
Yeah.
And possibly a year or two down the road, the then chairman might be in front of the Board of Selectmen and asking for the board to appoint 2 other residents to 3-year terms, so that the 3-year term people would be in overlapping terms and so forth and so on. But it is a work in process, Mr. Holmes, and I think if we take it one step at a time, we'll get there. We're just not going to get there right away.
Yeah, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I was just trying to get as to why.
Yeah.
What the whys are. Yeah. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Good job.
Selectman Tropiano and then Selectman Holmes?
No.
I mean, Selectman Slavin.
I know Mr. Haney for a long time, and he is very methodical and puts a lot of thought into what he does, and I'm quite happy to go along with his suggestions.
Thank you.
Selectman Slavin?
The idea is really to get this up and going, and then we'll fine tune it as we go. I'll be very happy to step aside and love to see 5 CPAs from the town actually doing the job.
Me too. I'm not a CPA.
It's
I'll
really,
step aside with you.
yeah, it's really where it needs to go eventually.
Yeah, and I'd just like to add one more thing before this discussion comes to an end. But in the research that I did over the summer, I just wanted to say that Mr. Sullivan was integral in that research. An integral part of it. He was very helpful to me in providing the auditor in a meeting and so forth. And as the chairman of the committee, I appreciate that.
Thank you very much.
Now you
Should've
can
said
be
that
appointed
before
to
we
the
signed
committee.
his contract.
Selectman Whiteside?
He does good work.
I have no additional comment. Just thank you very much for
You're welcome.
pursuing this.
Anything else from the board? Well, thank you for the time you're putting into this. I know it's an interesting undertaking
Could have cleared that.
That it is.
and a time-consuming one.
Thank you, Bill. We'll
Thank you. We'll have this on the agenda for next week formally to vote to
Adopt it.
adopt the amended guidelines, and also perhaps, if I get the proper feedback from the school committee, maybe we can vote that member on as well.
Okay. Do you want me at that meeting?
No, I don't think that's necessary.
Good.
Unless other members think they
Great.
want to grill you some more. I don't know.
Nobody's saying yes, so
No.
I'll just take that
Yeah,
as
take
a
that
no
as,
and
yeah, exactly.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Again.
Good to see you, Bill.
Thank you.
I'll go back in order. I just wanted to get Mr. Heaney in and out since he was here. Item C, continued discussion, Carver, Wareham, Marion Regional Refuse District, and CMAS agreements. I'm not sure why
I
it's
don't
on
know
there.
why that's on there, because Mr. Holmes has been
You
appointed.
You
and-
guys appointed me last week, remember?
Right, and it shouldn't be on there
Okay, I have no idea.
until Mr. Holmes has, been to a meeting and done his thing.
I went to the dump this week.
You gotta stop saying that, Mr. Holmes.
Scouting around. Well, you're the one who introduced me to the
I got that
That's
part,
where I
but
find out about political stories. Yeah.
Is this coming in the nature of a liaison report to the transfer station?
No, he's just,
I haven't looked at any poop there yet.
next item is discussion of favorable action votes on fall 2013 town meeting articles.
can we do F first? And just discuss it quickly so that people who are bored out of their socks watching us vote can understand what we're doing?
Fair enough. We'll take up
The
item F
volunteer
then.
appreciation dinner?
Yes.
Oh,
It
you and
says
I have-
update, so I assume somebody has some information for us.
No, you and I haven't met yet. I think the only thing to discuss right now would be, are we ourselves individually going to cook and provide the food? Or
Right.
how are we going to do that? That's the first step, and then we can go from there.
Okay, then it shouldn't be on the agenda.
Okay, so we'll push this off maybe till the 15th. Next week we're starting to get filled up.
Okay, never
So I'll
mind.
make a note to put that
It'll
on
be
for the
fun.
15th.
Not if you cook. You burnt the last thing.
What do you give that? Give me that.
What'd you burn?
He burnt the spatula. He put the spatula in the grill and the sucker burnt up.
But it said it was flame-proof.
Well, it wasn't.
Yeah,
It
so it was
melted.
dishwasher safe, too.
Let's go back to discussion of
Yes.
favorable action votes. Fall town meeting.
Yes, does everybody have in their packet the nice little sheet here that shows the FinCom votes that have occurred so far, that lists the articles in order?
I have extras in case anybody doesn't have it.
Oh, shit, these are in order, aren't they?
No.
Just before we start here, there are a few things that I don't think we're going to be prepared to vote on tonight. I think that the planning articles, unfortunately, are all scheduled for a public hearing 3 weeks out from now on October 21st.
Correct.
So I think we will have to wait for the results of the public hearing see if there's any changes to those documents, and then hopefully we can vote on them the 22nd, so we're not doing it the night of town meeting. But this is always the bugaboo that comes up with planning articles, the public hearings, due to the timeline nature we have here. It always takes time to get going. So we'll hold off on those. Also, I believe the Article 13, this is the Wareham High School roof replacement project feasibility study. Mr. Sullivan is speaking with Superintendent Shaver Hood to resolve the issue of funding for that, I believe. So I would ask that we hold off on that one till next week as well. But other than that, well, I think we can go right down the list here.
On the planning ones, I would recommend we vote at this time so something can be put into the document of no action.
You're saying a no action vote now?
Well, we will not have the final documents on some of the planning articles, not all of them, until after the 21st.
Just go down the list and you can deal with that when you get to it.
All right.
That'd be fine. There's some of them we should have no action on, though.
Okay. Well, let's start off with Article 1. Does anybody have anything to say about Article 1?
Just make the motion, right? We'll get a second.
Motion for favorable action on Article 1.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Holmes. Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, favorable action 500.
Make a motion for favorable action on Article 2.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Holmes. Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained. Just so that the viewing public knows what we're doing, perhaps we could just briefly read the description as well.
No problem. Make a motion for favorable action, Article 3, triennial revaluation and certification.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. Anything on the question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, favorable action 500.
Motion for favorable action, transfer to Harbor Master Maintenance and Improvement Account.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Holmes. Anything on the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500, favorable action.
Motion for favorable action, Article 5, transfer to Harbor Master Maintenance and Improvement Account.
Second.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Holmes. Anything on the question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 500, favorable action.
I make a motion for no action on item 6 that's being pulled in. It's going to be pulled, I believe.
Second.
Motion for no action by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 500 for no action.
On Article 7, I would refer back to the town administrator. Has there been a decision made whether this actually has to be a town meeting vote or not on this article?
Mr. Bowen, I believe this was the one where it is within their budget line.
They have $100,000 in their capital line, and it's used, which falls under the provisions of, doesn't fall under new vehicles. It possibly could link into the $25,000 greater value, but again, where it says new vehicles and this item can be registered, we've already discussed a little bit that it's a gray area here.
Well, Mr. Chairman, if the money's in the account and it's properly identified by prior town meeting vote, I have no issue with it. At the end of the day, the only person that you might have an issue with would be the town accountant, which is why I'd say just get her blessing on it. But I assume as long as she can see an account with sufficient funds, she's going to sign off as available funds. But
And I think for the
sounds
people
okay.
at home to understand, when we looked at this article, the funding source was either going to be from the reserve fund that they have, or the essentially their free cash, which is their
Retained earnings.
yeah, the retained earnings. Thank you. And you would need to a vote to take it out of there. However, since this is already funded within the budget of the water pollution control facility, And we looked at the capital bylaw, left, right, upside down in each way, and it looks like it would not need to have town meeting action on it. I know that the town accountant was the one that we'd worked with the article to put it on there when it was a funding source of the retained earnings or the reserve line. So I feel sufficient that this does not need to be an article that comes before town meeting.
I would make a recommendation on Article number 7 for no action then.
Second.
Okay, motion for no action by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 500, no action.
Article number 8, community preservation funds for a nature explore outdoor classroom. I believe that's for the library.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Holmes. Anything on this question?
Yes.
Selectman Whiteside?
I just want to have the record show that the library is still open only 3 days a week. And the question about who is going to be supervising this area has not been answered to my satisfaction. For a town department which is struggling with its budget, to be looking to expand is somewhat problematic for me.
I have one other question. You've already received your budget request for 2015 for some of the departments?
I have.
I assume the library has sent you a nice message?
Approximately $700,000.
I'm sorry? What was your question, Mr. Slavin?
I was asking whether or not what the library had sent in for their budget for 2015, because I was curious if they were trying to make provisions for added expenses.
And the budget that we had asked from the department heads is a needs budget. If you had the money available, what would it need to properly run the department? So they're much larger than what the actuals would be, but I think it's imperative that we understand what the departments need and then go through the funding, but that is what's been would be requested for a needs-based budget.
Okay.
It's for the kids.
Selectman Slavin, you had something you wanted to say on this?
I'm basically going to mirror Mrs. Whiteside. The discussion we had before is we would put it on to this item. We basically agreed to put it on the warrant for town meeting to make the decision. I have real concerns about the maintenance provision, the supervision, etc. Again, they are only open 3 days a week. They have received monies from, I think, 3 or 4 different organizations to offset their budget shortfall, and they're still only running the 3 days, and I just don't see how they can absorb any other increases in labor and costs.
Selectman Tropiano?
Well, like anything else, we have lots of playgrounds and things around that are not fun, watched 24/7 or have anybody taking care of them or whatever. This will be open when it's open, and that's all there is to it. If it's 3 days that it's open, then it'll be open 3 days with somebody staffing it.
It's open 24/7, Patrick. It's open to anybody
wide
anytime.
Well, but that's okay, because so are all our playgrounds. So are all of our other things. I mean, although I think we actually have a rule that playgrounds close at dark. I think that we've had that for quite some time. Officially, the police can throw them out of there, and I'm sure this would fall into the same range. So I can't see, for the use that it would get and for the 3 days that they could staff it, to sort of can the whole idea. You know what I'm saying?
They said they couldn't staff it, and when the presentation, they were not going to be able to staff it, and they were not going to be able to put cameras in to staff it, and they asked that the police department take over that responsibility, as I recall.
Selectman Slavin?
The other piece is that the CPA program, which has changed rules and allows for recreational playground repair, etc. I believe we're going to see a major push come 2015 for actually redoing. There's a whole list of playgrounds. There's a study that's been done, and there'll be money put in, which won't come out of the town budget for these things here. So to sit there and spend money on this, which they can't really maintain or actually properly take care of, I have a question on it.
Selectman Holmes?
Yeah, what a difference a week makes. You know, last week we were sitting here on the same issue, and the Board of Selectmen decided to go a different way, and that was even more flagrant than this. You know, it's about the kids, folks. Remember last week? And even though it doesn't make any sense financially, even though some of us have financial backgrounds, it's about the kids and having a place for them to go. And we'll deal with the money later. That's what we were told last week by this Board of Selectmen. I stood against that. So I have to agree with Patrick that, and I have to agree with you all last week, that doesn't matter what the program is. You can't say, this week I'm in favor of the Boys and Girls Club, and this week I'm against the kids being at the library outdoor center. I don't think we get to pick and choose. Children are children, education is education, and you gotta do it all, or you don't do any. So there's a big problem here with this week to week, pick an organization to win and who lose. I don't think that's fair.
I don't think this is the case. This is a study. This is not to go out and actually buy the equipment or anything. This is a study to see what they can build.
That makes it even more ludicrous, Alan, that it's only a study and you won't fund it, and somebody else is paying the money. It's not coming out of your budget.
I don't disagree there. I'm just saying it's a study for something they're going to
It's a
have to
study.
come back to somehow fund.
Well, if it's a study, then it shouldn't. I don't even understand the question. If it's a study,
That's what it is. It's a study to see what it would take to build that particular type of project at the library.
so they're paying just to figure out if they can get a classroom.
Well, but we are talking about holding off on this based on the fact that they couldn't staff it. And so I figure I'd jump into that same argument and say, well, okay, it's like a playground, it's open like any other playground. Realize, of course, that it is a study, and none of those apply.
You don't have to. You don't
Neither
have to
of
staff a
those two
study.
things actually apply. But because it is, I thought I would jump in with the same argument. You know what I'm saying? I don't see why we can't do this study. Sometimes good things come out of those kinds of things, especially if it's, it's a small amount of CPA funds here. And they obviously thought it was important enough to put in here, so.
Well, anything else? I think we've batted this one around pretty good. Okay, let's have a motion, please.
Make a motion for favorable action for Article 8, Community Preservation, Nature Explore Outdoor Classroom.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Holmes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. I'm opposed. Nay.
And abstained, 3-2-0. Favorable action.
Who else voted against it?
I did.
Oh, Ellen did? Okay.
I'll make favorable motion, Article 9, Community Preservation, Return Funds from Completed Projects.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0-0. Favorable action.
Article 10, Community Preservation Multi-Service Center, move favorable action.
Second.
Second.
Service center.
Okay, anything on the question? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, 5-0-0.
That was
Favorable
number 10.
action.
Article 11, Parking Kiosk Program, I move favorable action.
Second.
Would you be willing to withdraw your second, Selectman Whiteside, so Selectman Holmes can have the privilege?
Certainly.
He's kind of our kiosk man in town, so I'd like it to come from him.
In fact, why doesn't he make the motion?
Yeah, why don't?
No, the clerk does that. Yeah, I'll second that. I'm still trying to think of what that was. That's really. You know what? I'm going to call you at 2 in the morning. Say, hey, Derek, I remember what it was I wanted to mention.
So that's why you had your head
It
down.
had
You
nothing
would.
to do with parking. It had nothing to do with parking.
Yours. Article 12.
Oh, we got to have the vote.
We got to vote.
I thought you were all done already. Let's vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 5-0-0. And for the record, the motion was made by Selectman Slavin and seconded by Selectman Holmes.
Article 12, fiscal year 2013 unpaid bills, we have none. Move favorable action.
No, no
Don't we want to
action.
move no action on this one?
Actually, I'm sorry, no action since there's
Second.
no bill.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh,
Opposed?
Well,
Oh.
on the question.
Yep.
It's my first time in 4 years that I've sat on this board that I haven't had to deal with this. I call it crap. That we haven't had to deal with it. And I want to give Mr. Sullivan and his staff a lot of credit, not only on unpaid bills, but on skeleton bills, I call them, as you know. There aren't any of those either. And it's 4 years, and he's the first guy with me sitting here for 4 years that did it. So, to you and your staff, please pass that along, because it just wasn't you who did it.
No, that's
There's
that's
a lot of
absolute-
work behind it, and I want to say, attaboy. That wasn't it either, though.
But it's the town accountant, Judith Lazan, and the department's heads working and making sure
Yeah.
that they're
Very
following
good work.
paths set. So I appreciate their hard work.
I know it's the regular. That's the way it's supposed to run, Patrick. But in 4 years, I haven't seen that work yet. So
been a long
this
time.
year, I want to give him a.
Well, sometimes, the problem with unpaid bills is that they just don't come in time, and it makes it a lot more difficult.
We had other issues.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Selectman
so
Holmes
you
is
end
correct.
up
We
carrying
had
over
other
one-
issues.
Yeah, we know that.
we'll just leave it
Bills
at that.
were stuffed in drawers. And
Anyway,
Article-
motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Holmes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500, no action.
Article 13, Wareham High School roof replacement project feasibility study.
This is the one I'm going to ask that we hold off on until next week, because I understand that Mr. Sullivan is working with the school department to figure this one out.
Yeah, I would, we can hold off or no action at this time, go back to it next week if you'd like.
We'll just leave it blank.
Okay?
And I would ask if, Mr. Chair, if we may, to follow the same action on Article 14 and 15. We do know for Article 14, we're seeking to add 32,000 extra to the planning department, and that is to be able to hire a full-time planner, to go from the part-time planner to a full-time planner.
So you're looking for no vote today?
Correct.
Okay.
And then
Article 15 as well?
Yes, I'll ask for a vote next week. We may have to amend that before town meeting, as we are still in negotiations with some of the unions. But I'm sure you'd like to have a vote on there for any of them before before this would go out to print, or the town meeting, the finance committee.
Yes, I'm going to carry over the agenda item to the 8th anyway. We have next week. It's the 11th is when they close for publishing, so.
Article 16, create bylaw civil fingerprinting of vendors. I believe this one here will have no action, as I believe the police department is going to pull the article.
Could you speak to that, Mr. Sullivan?
Yes, absolutely. They're requesting that we hold off this article, bring it back for the spring town meeting. A lot of towns have done this or are working on it, and I'd rather they work out the issues and what we've seen that are coming forward before we are the experimental ones on this.
Make a motion for no action.
Second.
Motion made for no action, made by Selectman Whiteside, seconded by Selectman Holmes. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500, no action.
Article 17, amend the demolition delay bylaw, historically significant buildings. I believe there was some discussion at FinCom about possibly changing to a date Pacific, or possibly 100 years rather than the 75. This might be modified at town meeting.
Yeah, the date specific was a good. That seemed to go over well. to
I
pick
thought
the
so.
date, Yeah.
I think they picked basically, I think it was over 100 years back.
Right.
1913, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, unfortunately, we can't anticipate, we can't vote on an anticipated amendment to it, I suppose. So we pretty much have to vote on what's before us tonight.
Nope.
So,
Make a motion for favorable action on Article 17, amend demolition delay bylaw, historically significant buildings.
Second.
motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by
Unfortunately,
Selectman
I have in
Whiteside.
my notes Mr. Chairman, to say yes if they change it to a date certain. It's in my notes, my
Right.
electronic notes.
So you're saying yes throughout?
Well, no, I'm just saying even the lady agreed that 50 had to be changed.
Yeah.
But they didn't go back and get it done yet.
They
Yeah. Selectman Slavin?
they can't because the article had already been filed in the time
Right.
frame. So it could be either the Board of Selectmen can do it, they can do it, or anyone on the floor can amend the article,
Yeah.
which is our prerogative as well as everybody else.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained,
We do-
500.
We do,
I'm
oh, you know
opposed.
what? We can
You're
abstain.
opposed?
I
Yes.
abstain.
You're abstaining?
Yeah.
Any other abstentions?
Opposed, opposed, opposed.
3-1-1 then. Favorable action. Selectman Holmes abstaining, Selectman Tropiano opposing.
Article 18, amend waterways bylaw.
Second.
Make a motion for favorable action.
Why did the FinCom put it on hold? Anybody know?
They didn't get to it.
Huh?
They didn't get to it. They'll be getting to it tomorrow.
Okay.
Did you second it? Did somebody second it?
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Holmes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, favorable action, 500.
Article 19, accept layout of Cranberry Lane. On this one here, we basically have it in place. We're waiting for the report back from the planning board that everything has been done and accepted. So I would ask that we vote no action because we have up until town meeting in order to go ahead with it.
So moved, no action.
Why would you take any action at all? Why would we
Well-
vote no action if it's possible we're going to?
Because
take
that-
action on it?
Because we have up till basically the week before or even the morning, the day of the town meeting to change our vote.
Why vote it?
So that it gets
It's not ready to be voted on yet.
Well, basically,
What you're
it's
saying.
it's no action at this point because we're not ready.
But we don't need to vote on it, so just leave it.
Right, just leave it blank.
Just
for
leave
now.
it blank. You know, there's no reason
Make
to
off
vote
when you
on
bring
something
it up,
that's
right?
not there. Why should we go back and have to amend our vote? Just wait and see what happens, and we'll vote on it later.
Okay.
I will withdraw my motion.
Yeah, fair enough. We can add this to the list
Yeah,
of
just
the
skip
other ones
over
that haven't been voted on tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you just wait. I mean, there's no
Yep.
sense in, because then you can send out the wrong idea, too, on articles. If you do that, and you vote on all of them, you say no action, then it gets out, the paper puts, they voted no action on Article 20, and it sends out the wrong message. If we're still thinking about it, then that's a different message.
Maybe that should be the motion, still thinking.
I just don't make a motion, just skip over it. Al.
Okay, we'll
Next.
come back to that.
It's not worth beating. Article 20, transfer development rights under the same product that, as we've just discussed. There'll be no motion or anything on that one right now.
Okay?
Article 21, amend floodplain bylaw. This one here, just so everybody understands, the FEMA floodplain bylaw, the current one that's in place, corrects a lot of mistakes from the previous one, and it takes a lot of people in Wareham out of some of the zones and moves them up a little bit and some out completely. I'm going to vote no, only because I just want to register my displeasure on the whole process with FEMA and the insurance increases and everything else. But I would recommend the board vote for this, because if not, it will penalize the people.
I'm absolutely voting against it too, because I believe the same thing you're saying. I think this is a disaster. I think FEMA is going along with the insurance industry. They had a lot of problems in the other parts of the country, which we didn't have here, by the way, and that we still haven't had here, and that we never had here. And they are going along with them, and they're trying to allow the insurance companies to recoup damages that they got down south by bringing it here to this town, and it's very unfair, and I'm totally against any of that stuff. I ain't doing anything for FEMA.
I'm going to make a motion to have favorable action on Article 21.
Motion made by Selectman Whiteside,
Second.
seconded by Selectman Slavin. I will say that
My notes, so we have to vote yes.
Yes.
You have to vote for it.
You have to.
I'll
So
vote
you're
in
gonna
favor
vote.
of this. I will say that I saw a FEMA map sitting in Mr. Sullivan's office, the latest proposed draft. They had Hammond School up where Oak Grove School is, and I found about 3 other mistakes in about 8 seconds of peering at this map. So it's, I'll hold my nose and vote for it, but, you know, I understand Mr. Tropiano's concerns very much.
Well, the Board of Selectmen doesn't have to vote for it because we don't have a vote here anyway.
Right.
Town meeting has to vote for
Exactly.
it. So
We
the-
don't have to vote for it. We could send it with a negative vote for whatever reason.
Yeah, but they have to vote for
But
it. at
town meeting, that'll
has
be up to them.
Well,
All
Yeah.
we're doing is, what we're doing is, if we vote in favor of it, we're recommending it to town meeting that they vote for it. That's all.
they have to vote for it, though.
Yeah, if they don't vote for it, they won't
That's
have
what came
insurance.
up
That's
during
the problem here.
Workshop last week is that if the town meeting votes no, then there's a big issue with it, with insurance. People won't be able to get the
Up to
insurance.
town meeting, I still think that I'm just trying to send a message, as well as Alan is, that this is a disaster being stuffed down everybody's throat.
Well, I agree with you. I don't think there's any disagreement there.
Yep. Okay,
Well,
all
you
in
know what?
favor?
You know what we can do?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstain?
Abstain.
2, 2, 1.
Yeah. Just abstain.
Here we go. Drove it right down the middle.
That way, at least, if Patrick thinks people pay attention to it, if they see 221, they'll know that we're not too happy about it.
Right, exactly.
Article 22, establish zoning bylaw, medical marijuana treatment centers. The bylaw is done, but it still has to go through public hearing on the 21st, so I would recommend we do nothing at this point.
21st?
21.
That's, yes, just so people understand.
When was the TDR public hearing? I'm sorry. Mr.
Same
20
date.
21st.
Both on the same day?
There's 3 of them altogether.
Yeah, and just so the public knows, these 3 planning bylaws, there will be public hearings held on them the night of the 21st by the planning board, which meets at 7 p.m. In the town hall cafeteria. So if you want to learn about these, that's the place to go find out about them. Next one, please.
Article 23, sign regulations. It's the same issue. The public hearing will be on the 21st.
Could I ask that, I know they made some changes to the sign bylaw, and I'm not sure that I have the actual updated copy. Could I ask that that get emailed to me or
It's
some
actually
method,
online.
please? Is it up? Is the updated one online?
The one
Do we
that's
know?
currently online, we've had some input from 1 or 2 people a few days ago, so we're going to make a few more changes. So I'll get you that one within a couple
Yeah,
days.
could I
Pat.
have the updated
I'll
one,
send you
please?
one.
Thank you.
And then hopefully we won't have to make too many changes next time.
Yeah, they all start.
Okay.
Article 24, amended zoning bylaw use tables. I think, if I remember right, with the planning board, this was done in conjunction with Mr. Rowley and the former town planner, and they're having some internal problems making sure everything is done and up to date. So this may be withdrawn. So I
Plus,
would,
we haven't seen the table yet, so.
no, but what I'm saying is that there's a chance this might be withdrawn before, so therefore I'd
Okay.
recommend no action of any kind.
Okay, we'll hold off on this one then.
Okay, Article 25, petition to change zoning status of 2002 statutes. This is done by a citizen as a citizen's petition.
To 2002?
No, I think he still was going to leave it there.
Yeah, and I mean,
Yeah.
has he come to make a presentation? Have
He
I
made, he
Yes,
made a
last week.
presentation
Oh,
last
I'm
week.
sorry, I missed it. There was no presentation?
Everything would change back instead of specifically what he was asking for. So I
mean,
thought
there were
after
a lot
a
of
discussion with,
changes not too long ago.
I thought there was a discussion when Mr. Bowen came to the table, as I have in my notes, that said that the gentleman was going to bring it back in the spring and figure it out.
No, I think that
No.
that people suggested that he go speak with the building inspector and try and get the permit for the thing that he's trying to
Right, and then he
change
would
all of the
redo it
bylaws
if-
because of.
Because he may not need it, and then if he needed it, he would redo it in April. That's what I have.
I don't think he said he actually was going to pull the article, though.
No, I don't think so either.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I think by the time the discussion was winding down, he sort of, I won't say under his breath, but more or less suggested that he was going to plunge ahead with it and see how it turned out.
Ah,
Yes. That's what I thought I
Alright.
heard.
So,
well, when
I
changes
move no
to a
action
no,
on
then-
Article 725.
Well, do we want to have favorable
No,
action? I think
we
that's the
wanna have
motion we want.
Favorable action, and all of us vote against it.
Article
Like the
25, I'll move favorable action on the
Moving
petition to
favorable
change.
action
And then
to
we're all-
change it to 2000?
Oh, no. You have an opportunity to vote no
Yes,
on the
you're absolutely
favorable
right.
action vote.
Yes.
What we do is the standard way we do it. They're all favorable action. We vote yes or no on that.
Okay. I mean,
I know it
that's
sounds crazy,
the
but that's how they
silliest
do
thing
it.
I've ever heard of, guys.
We don't
No,
disagree.
it actually saves confusion, Patrick, because
It's silly.
some things you do no action, then you do then people are confused.
Yeah.
So,
I'll repeat again for
Zero.
Article
I get it,
25, petition,
but it's silly.
change zoning statutes to 2002 statutes. I move favorable action.
Second.
Motion made by Selectman Slavin, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor? All opposed?
Aye.
All abstain? 5-0, favorable action.
Article 26 is a citizen's petition to remove our remote attendance
Bless you.
public
Anybody-
body.
Anybody note that the Finance Committee voted 7-0-0 in
No, they voted no action, Patrick.
favorable
Article
action,
26,
7-0.
Yeah, I've got an FA down here.
7-0-0.
No, I have NA. It says NA, no action.
Mine says F.
This just came tonight.
Yeah, mine says FA.
We
No,
got two different
ours says
versions.
F.
So which is it? What did they vote?
I've got NA.
I got favorable action.
Mr. Sullivan,
You know, Mr.
perhaps you
Sullivan?
could, were you there to hear this?
They
Sure,
actually
delightful
both
debate.
dated the same
I don't think
thing.
I was there for that.
Well, since
part
they
of it.
spelled out at the top no action, I would think the vote was favorable action. Right? At the top, they spelled it out, but on yours, they didn't.
No.
Well, just bring it up next week and ask them.
I can ask them tomorrow night. I believe
You cleared
I
that
think
up
they did
quick
vote
enough.
no action, actually.
Well, we can
I
hold off
question
on
whether or
this.
not the board here should vote, because this is.
I mean, I like it, just so you know.
I know you
I've
do.
been I think it's great.
But again, this is something which is a policy of ours, and I'm not sure we should vote on this.
I would abstain anyway.
I'm going to abstain just because I don't think it's proper.
Say that again.
I'm going to abstain
We
because I
don't
don't
have
think
to
it's
make
proper
any
for us.
recommendation.
No, we don't,
Just
but-
leave it and let it go.
I just abstain.
And let
that's all.
town meeting make the call.
Yeah, obviously, we already voted. They
Yeah.
know how we voted,
Yeah.
4-1-0, so,
But I have
I
a
think what-
question of town council.
Doesn't require us to make any.
I believe town council, the question is probably going to be about the legality, but I believe that the.
Well, why don't we let Selectman Whiteside ask
Let
it?
me I just want to point one thing out, that the petitioner was emphatic that he was going to bring it to the Attorney General and press as far as he could with it.
Correct.
My question is it a legal article? And I think you answered that last week.
I'll put it
see if
this
I have a
way.
note on that.
It's not gonna, in my opinion, it's not going to be legally effective. And then when
That'll
it,
do.
when it comes up, the moderator will have to decide whether to treat it as a resolution or to handle it in some other fashion. But it's my opinion that a unanimous vote of town meeting in favor of that article would not accomplish what the proponent wants it to do.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, my notes recollect that town meeting does not have the authority.
Right.
Was your
Yeah.
principal
It's the Board of Selectmen's authority.
correct?
And I think I was having a moment, and I remembered what I wanted to, to think about the from the finance committee meeting was they were questioning whether town meeting could take this action, and that's why I think it would have been no action.
Right.
So you
on
think
it.
this might be a misprint we're seeing here?
Yeah, we'll double check, but that's if I'm remembering, because they brought that up as to whether that was something they could even town meeting could vote upon.
Well,
I'm pretty sure they voted no action. I was there.
you were there? Well, we've got it from two people that they think it was no action, so I suppose we can assume that it wasn't. Well, what's the board's pleasure? What do you want to do with this? Do you want to have a favorable action vote now? Do you want to wait until we know exactly what FinCom did and take it next week, or
I think
what?
a no action motion, because you can't act on something that's an improper motion.
Well, but that's a determination for the moderator and council to make at town meeting. I don't think we have that etched in stone yet.
Fine, I will make the motion for no action.
Second.
Motion for no action by Selectman Whiteside, seconded by Selectman Slavin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Abstain? Selectman Slavin, what was your vote?
311.
3-1-1, okay. Selectman Tropiano opposing and Selectman Holmes abstaining. So that takes care of that. Second to collect ourselves. Get our paperwork put away. Okay, next item, please.
24-hour thing.
Yeah, I just want to move something around. Any town business not reasonably anticipated in 48 hours prior to this meeting, Mrs. Whiteside?
No, thank you.
Mr. Tropiano?
No thanks.
Mr. Holmes?
Senior moment.
He shook his head.
Oh, sorry, couldn't hear. Mr. Slavin is no.
I have nothing.
Town Administrator's report.
Thank you. I believe you received in your mail the letter from Director Markarian from the DLS Technical Assistance, acknowledging the receipt of our letter dated September 18th, and that they will be seeking to come in and work on the water pollution control facility for schedule a review for around mid-January 2014, which is a little sooner. And I just want to state that we sent out the letter. It was dated September 18th, and the return letter is dated September 26th. So I appreciate their turnaround, and I'll certainly write a letter from all of us saying that we appreciate the fast turnaround. So we know that we are now in the queue for this, and they expect the project to be completed within 6 to 8 weeks. So around January, we'll hear from a technical assistance manager. So, the next item that I have is that we have received the September disbursement of the meals tax and the local option revenue tax. Meals tax was $128,101 for the disbursement. Last year's disbursement at this time was $127,946. So it was within less than $200 there. So it's pretty interesting. One of the things that people understand that we do is when new businesses come into town that have the food services and such, we give the list and update it to the Department of Revenue. And also if there's closings, we update them so that they can also track and they're not going after people for meals tax they never collected. The local option rooms tax revenue in this time period in 2013 was $15,166. This September we had $19,541. So this is one of the ones that changes drastically. In 2011 it was about 13,800. In 2012 it was 23,000. So it jumps all over the place. The food number for the September disbursement, $128,101. That's for FY14. 127,946. I know we had new restaurants opening in town. I wanted to review because I thought some shut as well. So.
It's a good month to look at because you get, Labor Day weekend, but then you get a good month of regulars. And we've had some nice weather, but with all the restaurants that we've added in the last year, it appears that we're flat and we're sharing the wealth not increasing the well.
It would be the
We went up by $200.
Yeah, what you would think is if you're looking at it, the simple conclusion is we have the same amount of patrons. They've just been dispersed amongst more restaurants.
Right. So when somebody is jumping up and down saying, hey, why are you opening those new restaurants? It's stealing my business. They're absolutely right. Right?
Might be
They are,
some
you
truth
are
to
starting
that.
to share. How did the August number look? Was it?
We only receive a disbursement, a quarterly disbursement.
Oh, okay. So this covered September?
This would have
August?
been July, August, and
Oh,
September.
so this was
we
for the
get-
whole summer?
Except for June, the month of
Right,
June.
June, July, August. Oh, sorry. July, August, September.
So it's just a quarter.
I have one question. The money coming in, is that the full meals tax? Includes the .75 for capital?
Yes, the full meals tax we take in, it doesn't get broken out. We essentially budget the meals tax, and we know that the portion of it's going towards whatever we would pay for capital.
Yeah, our share of the meals tax is what, regular?
No, our share of the meals tax, our meals tax does not get split out. Even with we receive the full amount of it.
Okay.
So when we budget, you'll see, because we know what we have in the capital is essentially our debt service. Our debt service called $690,000.
Yep.
Well, if we have meals tax of $430,000, we know it's all going towards capital.
So a full meals tax, not just the one that's dedicated to capital is going there?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Just, we should make that to the public, because people will think we're getting $600,000 meals tax under that particular article
No.
from a year ago. We're really not, really.
No,
get-
this is
only
the
getting a small percentage of that.
Right.
Thank you.
Anything else you'd
Oh,
like to
those
tell
were
us?
Those were the main items, as well as the revenue and the expenditure reports, and then at the end of, which we should have available in October, the first quarter revenue reports as well. So, for July, August, and September.
That's it.
Those are the simple items. If you're asking
have
what
to
the
Hey.
debt crisis is going to do to us, it's we're not going to really have an impact
Good.
right now. If the ceiling, the debt ceiling was not raised, we would see some issues with the funding of public safety federal grants as well as the community development block grants. So that's where we would have the issues.
Thank you. Next item, please, and if we're quick with this, we can get out before 9.
Liaison reports, Mrs. Whiteside?
Just like to say, it's not really a liaison report. My daughter, who is a social worker at Walter Reed, was furloughed for 2 weeks today due to the shutdown of the government. Seems to me that a social worker at a hospital that deals with Wounded Warrior program is an essential part of the government. I love you, my daughter. I'm not happy with the government.
Mr. Holmes?
I would just echo my friend's sentiments, although I wonder, who makes the decision to shut what and why. But I don't know if you saw the video today of the World War II veterans knocking down the barricades when they got there. And I thought that was just cool for you, right? Mm-hmm. And they kind of sent a message to the commander-in-chief what they thought about it. Yeah. So I thought that was pretty good.
Selectman Slavin?
We didn't do anything last week. There's been a lot of things going on. Selectman Titlebaum and myself were at the, well, not a ribbon cutting, but basically the announcement by Governor Patrick Deval on the New Bedford, what they call Wales Tooth train depot for South Coast Rail. The Army Corps of Engineers has finally signed off on the route, so now they can go to the design phase of South Coast Rail. That was one piece we had. The planning board last night, again, worked on the TDRs, which is an additional meeting to their regular meetings, and they will have their hearings again on the 21st. The Finance Committee did their votes last week. We'll finish up the votes on the articles this week here coming. And I was at an event at Bridgewater State University. What's interesting, there was an article, actually a TV program, on Red Cloud Indian School, which had national coverage about this particular Indian reservation in southwest South Dakota. And the life expectancy of the people living on the reservation, I believe, for women was 52. For males it was 47. The issues with alcoholism, the issues with diabetes, etc., was just kind of appalling. In this particular area, and it's quite interesting that we think we have our own issues. And here we have really the Native Americans who we've displaced as colonials, and we actually have something this day and age in our own country. And I'm hoping that people will look into this. Again, it's the Red Cloud Indian School. They've got some programs to try and move this reservation and try and cure things. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't have anything.
Thank you. Patrick.
I think it's that time.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Selectman Holmes, seconded by Selectman Whiteside. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 4-0-0. Thank
Oh, I
you
gotta have
for
my
tuning
number
in.
one
Good
button
night.
here.